Less than $80 for a 10th scale fully licensed RC. Are they having a laugh or what? That is insane. We've got the brand new fully licensed Suzuki Jimny from WPL Toys. It is their first 10th scale RC. I haven't got massive expectations, but let's check it out and let's see what it's like. It's actually really nice box art as well. Don't normally mention the boxes, but I really like that. So it comes nicely packaged, as you'd kind of expect. WPL are really good at, you know, boxing their stuff up. The box that it comes in is like super, super tough as well. So yeah, I mean, you'd be very surprised if you get a damaged WPL. It's all nicely strapped in there. Everything's like zip tied on and everything. You've got your usual WPL controller. We'll check that out in a bit more detail in a second. Okay, so there's the actual Jimny itself. This is my first time looking at it. It's quite a nice little body. Obviously, you've got to stick all your door handles and your mirrors and all that kind of stuff on there. They come in your usual bag of goodies with all your kind of like your USB charger, your stickers and everything like that. You get all your instructions and everything as well. It comes with a 2S LiPo 600 milliamp hour battery. It's their new 4-pin design, so it is a different battery to the other WPL models. So if you want multiple batteries, because you won't get a massive amount of runtime from one of these, you want to get some more batteries. So I did order 2 additional batteries with mine, so they just came included in the box, and they're not very expensive. Now, as you can see, it's a hard body. It's got a full interior, which actually looks really, really nice. Lots of scale details. We'll get some close-up shots of that in a minute. Obviously, it's got all your Jimny badges and everything on there. You've got your spare wheel cover on the back as well. Underneath, we've got leaf springs, which actually look like they are quite nice, soft leaf springs. It looks like they've used a similar design to the LDRC Unimog, which actually has really nice suspension movement, in my opinion. So yeah, you've got leaf springs front and rear. You've got a bit of suspension movement there. You know, some nice articulation there. Not too bad. Got a 370 motor in there as well. Your battery actually goes in the back underneath down here. So you just pop that in and then just close this little flap like so. So we'll get that all powered on in a minute. Obviously it's like plastic gears and plastic axle housings and plastic drive shafts and stuff like that. You've got your power button under there. Now it's not waterproof. It does have an all-in-one ESC receiver, which is just underneath the bonnet. But you can't really see it without taking the body off, which you can do if you want to get a driver in there. It's all screwed on. I'll definitely be sticking a driver in there, but first of all we'll run it with no driver so we can see what the actual performance is like. You can kind of see straight off the bat that the suspension's getting stuck, look. With the leaf springs, seems to be kind of like, I don't know, it's not quite sitting straight, look. You can see it's lopsided. Yeah, well, let's figure that out because that'll do my head in, that will. You've got an axle mounted steering servo in there. Now, in terms of its size, it is really small, but then obviously real Jimnys are tiny. If you actually look at the measurements of it, it is actually really close to a true 1/10 scale, which is really, really cool. This is a 1/16 scale WPL C74. You know, you can see it's bigger, the scale details. You know, you've got your door and you've got your door, your interior and everything. You know, it is a much bigger scale than their other 1/16 scale crawlers. And then if you stick it next to something like an FMS FCX18, which is an 18th scale, you can see, you know, it is much bigger. You know, it is going to be much smaller than things like, you know, a Traxxas TRX4 and stuff like that. But then obviously they are a big 10th scale, to be honest. So the transmitter, you know, it's a very basic transmitter. It's not like their Res 3 that has all the additional functionality and stuff. I'm not a fan of these transmitters, to be honest. You know, very cheap and plasticky, which obviously, you know, it's going to be for the price. You can do your steering trim adjustment, and you've also got like a dual rate effectively on your steering and your throttle. So when you press it, you'll get more steering angle or less steering angle and more throttle or less throttle. But the spring on these is really, really stiff. So I find these really hard to drive one-handed because, you know, it's like you're really working that wheel. So, yeah, not the best controller, but again, you know, for the money, you're not exactly going to get super high quality. Most of the WPL ones, they do have a screw and it's 2 AA batteries. I can't stand the screw, so I'm going to take that and ditch that in a minute. Let's get the batteries in the controller. Let's chuck the battery in the RC and let's see what it's like. In terms of your steering, you can see you've got hardly any steering at all, and it's, yeah, really hard on this controller. But if we press the steering rate button, it'll flash, and then you can see we've got a load more steering angle. Now if I lift it up, you'll be able to see it a bit better, and you can see you've got quite a bit more steering angle on there. The WPL motors are generally really noisy, so if we start giving it a little bit of throttle, and then you finally get some movement. So that noise is going to drive me insane, but it's not the nicest motor in the world. I mean, that's a 370 motor in there, so it should have a decent bit of torque, and obviously it's only a small RC, but you know, the stock electronics aren't the best with the throttle control. You can see it's kind of just jamming up. Yeah, not the best throttle control, but then again, you know, for less than $80 for a fully licensed hard body with an interior, you know, what can you expect? To be honest, most people change the electrics anyway, so, you know, with a 370 motor, that's a pretty decent sized motor, so I'd be inclined just to chuck like a Hobbywing 1060 in there or something like that. Waterproof your receiver, then obviously you could use a different radio, which would be much nicer. You know, you won't have spent a great deal of money, especially if you've got a radio kicking around already for another rig, and it would be much, much nicer. In terms of your lights, you've just got your front headlights. There is plenty of space to fit, like, you know, bumper lights and obviously spotlights. You could potentially fit rear lights as well, so that'd be really cool. The wheels and tyres aren't too bad, they're just plastic wheels. The wheels are vented, the tyres do actually have foams in them and they're not glued on, so you can see the foams in there. Look, you can just push them on. I'm not quite sure what the fitment is behind the wheels. I'm hoping it is actually a nut, so you can actually change the wheels and tyres really easily, because normally with the WPLs they're held on with a screw, which obviously then limits your wheel choice options. It does actually come in 3 different colours, but the other 2 colours you can only get in Japan. So for the rest of us, it's just going to be the kind of the white kind of cream kind of colour. Right, let's get all these scale details on it, and then let's get it on the trail and see what it actually performs like, and then we'll know what we've actually got for our for our $80 that we've spent on it. So I'm hoping it's going to perform all right and have some decent kind of suspension movement. You know, it's not too bouncy. You know, it's got a decent bit of movement. I like the fact that it's got leaf springs, so hopefully, you know, on the trail that's going to be quite nice. You know, at least it's not just like friction shots where it's just like wibble wobble, wibble wobble, wibble wobble. I might see if it'll actually fit on the mini rock crawler course in the back garden, just so we can try the tyres out on some rocks. That's a save. Well, there you go. Finally went over. Oh, we've broken our other mirror as well now. The plastic on the mirror is not the best. I've just bent it back, but yeah, I didn't like that. Not very flexible. Yeah, can't get up there even with the wheel speed, so let's just see what the suspension's like on the rock, shall we? Very noisy, isn't it? Oof, that sounded healthy. Oh man, can't even steer this thing. Oh, come on. Just want to see if it'll actually get up on there. Hey, oh. Well, we did, but we're about to tip over. Obviously this is a mini crawler course, but just to see if we can actually get over any obstacles, really. Oh, there we go. Notice the steering servo does seem to struggle. I mean, it's quite hard to steer, to be honest, especially one-handed, but it does seem to struggle and then kind of get locked up a little bit sometimes. Bit of ground clearance there, not bad. Oh. £15,000 turn. Very noisy. Okay, I think we'll admit defeat. Yeah, it looks pretty cool, but yeah, it's definitely doesn't have a lot of power. The motor's struggling. Steering servo's not the best. I'm not fussed on the radio. It's quite hard to control, to be honest. The wheel is just a bit too stiff on it. But yeah, with some better electrics and some better wheels and tyres, you know, it'll be a completely different rig. So I think, yeah, you just need to just bear in mind that it's cheap and upgrade ready. Otherwise, you know, it's a cool looking rig. Okay, we are out on the trail with the WPL C74, the little Suzuki Jimny. Looks pretty nice in the daylight. Like all the little details and everything on there. So there you go, you can see like the interior that's in there, or like, you know, your dash and everything. I haven't taken it apart to put the stickers on there and stuff like that, so I couldn't bother to unscrew it all, to be honest. Also, I haven't stuck a driver in there yet, because I thought I'd give it a fair test without a driver in there. But obviously with that interior, you know, it'd be cool to stick a driver in there. First of all, let's just try that slow speed control, then let's just go full throttle, see what our trail speed's like. It's like 2 degrees out here at the moment, so it's absolutely freezing, and so hopefully the camera won't be shaking all over the shop. Okay, so it's not too bad actually with a little 370 motor in there, you know. It's not horrendous, you know, you just got to give it a little bit of throttle before it actually starts moving. But let's try full throttle and see what it's like. Yeah, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but if you press the throttle rate button, you get the tiniest little bit more throttle, but like literally insignificant. You can see it's like the tiniest bit faster, not a lot. Okay, let's try out the tyre grip and just see what it's like on this tiny little incline with a little bit of loose soil, but just to see if the tyres have got any grip. I don't think it's waterproof, so it's probably not going to work anymore now, is it? Well, it still works. It didn't go deep enough. It does seem to have a drag brake, but sometimes it decides it's going to work and sometimes it doesn't, it seems, so I don't quite know. But yeah, you can see the tyres aren't the best. Usual kind of little root section. I'd be very surprised if it gets over this, to be honest, because the tyres do seem to be struggling with grip a little bit, and obviously it doesn't have a massive amount of ground clearance. I think it's going to get there, to be honest, but you see it's not the best throttle control. Almost. You can see it's just kind of grounding out in the body there, so obviously ground clearance isn't amazing. But obviously, you know, it is meant to be a scale rig, so it's not meant to be like tons of ground clearance and stuff like that. Tyres are really struggling for grip, and obviously, you know, we don't have a lot of power. I mean, to be honest, how much this is struggling, I had pretty much the same issue with the TRX 4M High Trail. So, you know, there's a comparison for you. The TRX 4M High Trail did make it over eventually, and was, you know, a little bit better than this. But yeah, this thing is struggling. Yeah, it's that body, isn't it, just getting caught up there, but oh well, good effort. Okay, we finally tipped over. To be fair, it's not actually that top heavy, considering, you know, it's a hard body and there's not a lot of weight underneath. It doesn't tip over as much as you'd think it would tip over. It's a bit lame, isn't it? We're stuck on some leaves. Oh dear me. Yeah, it's definitely lacking power. You can see it's just got hardly any go in it. That wasn't too bad on those little routes then, you know, if you're just doing like some kind of mild trailing, you can see, you know, it does kind of struggle with the slow speed control. So as soon as it comes up against an obstacle, it kind of stops and struggles to crawl over it, which is, again, exactly the same issue you have with the Traxxas TRX4M, you know, stock. So, you know, just bear that in mind. You know, this is $80 WPL, and pretty much you get very similar issues with the Traxxas TRX4M, which is like $150, and obviously from Traxxas. I mean, to be fair, you know, the radio gear and everything, the electrics are 1,000 times better on the Traxxas, but in regards to your actual user experience where you're driving it, similar kind of issues. You know, I'm not trying to directly compare the TRX4M to this WPL, but again, just you've got to bear that in mind. When you buy something this cheap, you need to bear in mind how cheap it is. You can't expect to pay $80 and have something that's amazing, because that's just not how it works, is it, you know? But there you go, bit of food for thought. One thing I did forget to mention is it does have a counter-rotating gearbox. They added that in the C54, so obviously it's meant to reduce that torque twist. I mean, obviously there's not a massive amount of torque, so I'm not sure there's much twist to reduce, but obviously it is a feature that it has. You know, I think overall for the price, you know, it's all right. I mean, it's you know, again, if you're spending $80, you've got to have low expectations, in my opinion. You know, I like the look of the body. It's cool that it's got an interior. The leaf spring suspension seems to be pretty decent. You know, it's not really bouncy or anything. It's quite nice and soft. You know, some of the other leafs I've had on some of the other WPLs, they're a bit too hard, and even on some other brands as well. But yeah, these are actually quite nice and soft. Reminds me of the LDRC Unimog. So yeah, suspension movement's not bad. You know, tyres, they're not very good. They haven't got much grip. Obviously, it doesn't have a lot of power, even with that 370 motor. It is struggling, and obviously the electrics aren't waterproof. So I think, to be honest, you know, if you chucked like, even if you chucked like a Hobbywing 1060 in there or something, some better wheels and tyres, I think it would completely transform it. So I guess you've got to bear in mind it's upgrade ready, I suppose. You're paying $80 for something that, you know, you want the body and that you can work on it and improve it. You know, out of the box, you know, it's all right for a bit of fun, great for kids that are getting into the hobby, but, you know, it's not the best performer, and obviously it is a bit more toy grade than hobby grade, in my opinion. But I'm a sucker for a scale rig, so I'm going to get some different wheels and tyres on there, chuck a 1060 or something like that in it, and then obviously better radio gear as well, because the stock radio isn't very nice. One thing I find with a stock radio is it's really hard to drive one-handed. This wheel is so stiff. It's just, yeah, it's not the nicest radio, to be honest. The battery did last the entire time, so you know, I've been at it for probably 45 minutes to an hour. Obviously not running constantly, stopping and starting, but the battery is still working. I've still got full power, so yeah, you can probably get a good like 15 minutes, half an hour runtime out of it. I'll put a link in the description to where you can get this from on WPL's website. If you want to help support the channel, then you can use my referral link. Obviously I will get a commission on any sales, so obviously it helps the channel out, helps us buy more rigs that we can feature on the channel. So if you want to help support us, just use those referral codes and discount codes in the description or on the link tree on my profile. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. Drop me a comment if you've got any questions. Let me know if you're thinking about getting one. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Give us a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And turn on the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming videos. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.